The takeaways from last night's chaotic debate, plus worrying signs that the virus is resurging here in the original hotspot of New York City, and playoff baseball in the fall. Here's what you need to know. Good morning. This is Cheddar's Need2Know podcast for Wednesday, September 30th. I am Jill Wagner with Carlo Versano. Hey, Carlo. Good morning.
Wags, wow, it is good to have you back. I did not get the recommended 8 hours of sleep last night. I'm running on fumes here. How about you?
Same. Alarm goes off at 4 a.m. to get in here to Cheddar HQ. And of course, we had the debate last night. So let's get to it. The two oldest candidates in the history of American presidential politics faced off last night for the first of 3 debates. And it was, by all accounts, a disaster, right? The debate is being widely panned by pundits across the political spectrum as the worst debate in living memory, even a low point in American politics, some say. The event basically went off the rails immediately as President Trump kind of steamrolled both Joe Biden and the moderator, Chris Wallace of Fox News. Policy differences took a bit of a backseat to fierce personal attacks, insults from both candidates, much of which was incomprehensible to the viewing public as these 3 men spoke over each other over the course of a chaotic 90 minutes. Carlo,
is that all it was? It felt longer than that.
We were so excited for this debate, and I left just feeling so disheartened and disappointed.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one feeling that way this morning in America, Jill. I was looking forward to a frank and polite policy discussion between 2 elder statesmen of American politics who have some differing views on the challenges facing this country, and I was pleased. No, I'm kidding. That was the worst, most embarrassing 2 hours of television I've ever watched in my life. In every way, it made me embarrassed to be an American, to be honest with you. It was chaotic. Like you said, it was incomprehensible. It was useless, bad performances, bad moderation, bad questions. Really, it was a portrait of a nation in decline, if you want to be honest about it. And there's 2 more of them. I don't know how we're going to do that. Seriously, like, Jill, what is there to say? I mean, I couldn't even understand them, right? This is my job, and I couldn't even parse what these guys were saying half the time. Usually after these debates, at least in past instances, we're supposed to in the media talk about like the policy differences and like who scored, better on a certain point or who had like a good zinger. These guys weren't even on the same planet, right? But President Trump is playing by his own set of rules. Joe Biden sort of pretending as though he's debating like it's a regular, like it's regular normal times, and it's just not. I can't wait to see the viewership sort of tick by tick, because I suspect that a lot of people tuned out after the first 20 minutes or so of that.
Yeah, I was getting that in real time from a lot of friends and relatives who were messaging me within the first 5 minutes, like, what is this? What is happening? How long is this thing? I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. I had a hard time getting through it, personally. I was tired. 9 o'clock is late to start.
Let's just say that 9 o'clock is way too late to be starting these things. I think we can all agree on that.
And it was just, it's like hard to watch. Like I felt like I was watching like an episode of Real Housewives, but without the cool music and cutaways and like these.
Without Andy Cohen.
Yeah, without Andy Cohen. Speaking of moderator, by the way, this woman Wendy Aarons tweeted, "Can Chris Wallace be replaced with a mom who's been home with her kids since March?" Hello, I actually brilliant, because we've all had it. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It was just kind of like, so we didn't really gain much from it. I thought a telling moment was when Chris Wallace asked the president to condemn white supremacists and militia groups, and he kind of didn't. It was like, yeah, sure, I'm willing to do that, but then didn't, and was sort of telling them, hold on.
Proud voice, stand by, whatever that means.
Yeah, like almost like he was their leader. The whole thing was just terrible.
Chris Wallace obviously getting a lot of heat for the moderation, and he did a horrifically bad job. But then again, I mean, I was thinking about this last night. What could he have done, right? I mean, one thing they could have done is they could have had a mic kill switch, which they probably need to have at these points now because President Trump just does not listen to when he's supposed to let the other candidates speak. So I think they have to kill the mics when they're not when they don't have it's not their time to speak going forward. If they're even going to continue with these, which I don't even know if they are.
Well, that's a lot of Democratic, a lot of the Democratic strategists and stuff after were just like, Biden should not do another debate. I mean, this benefits no one. You don't learn anything.
Yeah.
Like, he shouldn't do another one. The question about that, because I saw a lot of people talking about that idea of should you cut the mic, would the candidates agree to it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, so let me put on my sort of like pundit hat for a second here and at least attempt to decipher, who won and who lost. I mean, I don't think that Trump came close to doing what he needed to do, which was to really deliver a knockout blow against Biden. And I get that people, 38, 40, 42% of this country loves his shtick. And I also get that he can be quite charismatic in a lot of ways. But he needs more than that. He needs more than just his people. He is losing this election. The only way he doesn't is if he gets undecided voters to break for him, especially undecided women, or if the Republicans can suppress enough votes on election day. And I cannot imagine being an undecided voter, especially being a female, who maybe I'm not paying close attention to this race because I have 5 billion other things to worry about. Tuning in to sort of see where things stand, watching that, and thinking to myself, yes, I want 4 more years of this right here. This is what I want. So therefore, by default, I think Trump lost. That said, let's be real. Joe Biden was not good, right? That was not a good debate performance by Joe Biden. He was not assertive. He was not commanding. He didn't look like he was in control. He missed a ton of opportunities to hit Trump on actual decisions that the president has made, especially with related to the pandemic. I mean, the climate change section, it was nice to see that we actually got a question on climate change finally. It was a complete wasted opportunity for Biden. He didn't even make the point that Trump has gutted the EPA. He just sort of let that slide. He didn't point out that Trump wouldn't even condemn white supremacists when asked, as you mentioned. It was just a train wreck. And does any American wake up this morning and feel more informed or better about the state of this country? I don't know.
You can't possibly.
Yeah.
Switching gears, on this first day that students return to schools and a day before residents can start eating in restaurants, inside restaurants, New York City reported a test positivity rate above 3%. If that rate stays above 3% on a 7-day rolling average, schools will be forced to close again. Governor Cuomo is now going to meet with leaders of the Orthodox Jewish communities in a handful of zip codes in New York City that have seen the biggest spikes. The death toll in the state now back in double digits for the first time since the middle of the summer.
Not to go back to the debate, but like it's almost amazing in a lot of ways. Like we are still in the midst of this absolute crisis, and it's like not only was there basically no acknowledgement of the 200,000 people who have died, but was there any talk of like what our plan is? I mean, I think Biden tried to push Trump on that a little bit, but like what are we doing here, folks? I mean, what are we doing?
I mean, Trump just goes back to this shut the border. He closed the border to China, and that's it. And then that was the whole plan. He yells the loudest.
Yeah, it's so upsetting. I took the subway yesterday for the first time since March because I went in to get my flu shot, which everyone should do, by the way. And my arm is still sore this morning, but that's okay. I'm a trooper.
Tough
and it was
guy.
But it was a pretty pleasant experience as far as the New York City subway goes. There was one raving maskless lunatic, but that's not bad. You usually get at least 1 or 2 of those. So I was pleasantly surprised with my commute. And look, the harsh truth of this is, Jill, the Orthodox and Hasidic neighborhoods where these spikes are where these spikes are most concerning. And if you just walk or drive through them, you can see with your own 2 eyes that mask compliance among that population is literally 0%. And I'm sorry if that's not PC to say. And I understand that some listeners have said that it isn't fair of me to point that out. just because of the anti-Semitism that a lot of these communities have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But I'm sorry, but that's a fact, and this is a public health crisis. And I was happy that the Governor Cuomo at least acknowledged that these are the communities where this is happening.
It is. There are no words, and it's like it's embarrassing. I'm Jewish, and it's like I get upset by it because I feel like it gives all Jewish people a bad name.
Right.
And there's a reason. So I had to do Yom Kippur service virtually, as did all of my relatives. We did not go into synagogue. We did it virtually. Would we have rather gone in and said hello and seen our friends in person? Of course we would. But come on, we're in the middle of a pandemic. There's a reason that Israel, with a resurgence in cases, decided to shut everything down ahead of the high holidays, because the fear is that people would get together, as they tend to do, as any religious group tends to do, right? I mean, the concern is about Thanksgiving now and Christmas, and we saw spikes after Labor Day and July 4th and Memorial Day. That's just what happens. We as humans, that's what we do.
Right.
We gather for these holidays. And it's terrible because we're letting the kids down. We have a societal obligation to be responsible, and I don't know what to say. I'm horribly disappointed.
Right, and
that's it. It's just like there's nothing to say, and it's not anti-Semitic to say it. By the way, it's not just the Orthodox Jews. It's a lot of people.
Right.
I have had work done in my house now for a long time because I just moved in, painting, this, that. I could tell you how many times I would walk in and whomever was doing whatever was not wearing a mask because they didn't think I was looking. If they're not doing it in my house, they're not doing it in other people's homes. I go to restaurants or delis and there are people not in masks. It's not just the Orthodox Jewish community, but it's being made a lot worse by what has happened. Yeah.
No, I mean, there was a guy next to me on the subway platform yesterday, regular guy in a business suit, no mask, wasn't holding one, didn't have one around his chin, just wasn't even attempting to and that's offensive to me, right? I'm the one who's in this disgusting subway station, breathing the air that you are exhaling. Like, can we just try and be a little bit, better to each other, right?
Yeah, and I don't even want to tell you, we're going to go long today, but I mean, just what is going on in schools already is a debacle in terms of kids getting sick. It's not great. Okay, meanwhile, the first wrinkle of the football season already here. The Tennessee Titans have closed their facilities until at least Saturday. 5 team personnel members tested positive for COVID-19. The NFL is reportedly planning to go forward with Sunday's Titans-Steelers game in Nashville. Could move it to Monday. The Minnesota Vikings have also closed their facilities as a precaution because they played the Titans last weekend.
Yes. So, I mean, I think this was going to happen eventually, right? They're not in a bubble, so people are going to test positive. Hopefully hopefully it's not a rolling crisis for the league. But how about, let's be a little positive here. We got as you mentioned, we got some playoff baseball, baby. It is the fall. There is postseason baseball. It's here. It's weird. It kind of sucks, but it's happening at least. I love playoff baseball. The Yankees crushed the Indians last night. Astros, White Sox, and Rays all won too. So it'll just be nice to get like a little bit of sense of normalcy. Seeing the fall classic, as they say, as we head into October here. And the NBA Finals start tonight between the Heat and the Lakers. That should be a good series too. So if you need to sort of like wash the taste out of your mouth from last night, at least there's some sports to watch.
Let's talk a little business. Disney is going to be laying off 28,000 workers in its theme parks division who have been furloughed since the spring. 2/3 of those positions are part-time. So Disney blamed the coronavirus for the cuts, but notably and specifically blaming California restrictions that have kept Disneyland closed. It's one of the biggest reductions in a single company's headcount since the pandemic started. Probably won't be the last, but there you go.
28,000, that's a lot of people. Again, I think that this was probably a long time coming. These people were mostly furloughed, as you said, but now they'll lose their health benefits. The question for somebody like Disney or a company like Disney is, even if they were to open Disneyland, do people actually show up? Disney World in Orlando, their attendance is down 80%, I believe, last time I checked. So
But
I
do you
don't
think
really know
that
how
because
many.
they're not open to capacity?
I think
Because
that
I
that I
think
think that
like
that's
where they've
right.
opened overseas anyway, there's lines, there's
Well,
people want
overseas
the
is different.
tickets.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. So let me double check. But everything that I've read in the local papers in Orlando is that they're not happy with the attendance in Disney World.
Got it.
But California. I did want to mention this while we were talking about Disney today. California is, and I almost feel like I'm going to say something that is completely antithetical to what we were just talking about. But California is really taking this to almost like a new level of caution. Half the state still hasn't even partially reopened. And again, like I'm risk averse in this stuff. I really am, Jill, and I think you are too. But at some point, as a society, you have to accept some level of risk, right? And I'm not saying you got to do what Florida did and just basically say screw it and open everything up, which they did last weekend. But you cannot really keep these lockdowns going forever if there's not going to be, aid coming from the government.
Right.
And not to get all psychological, but I've learned this in therapy. Our desire, sort of, as humans, is to take the path of least resistance, right? That's one of like the basic tenets of the human condition. Whether that means like your boss passing you over for a raise because it's easier to say no than to fight for you, or a governor keeping a lockdown in place because it's easier than taking heed if the cases go up when you reopen. I think that's a lot. It's a lot of what's at play here. So I don't know. It's a tricky one, right? Because California hasn't gotten their cases down to where they really need to be. But at the same time, without a plan, we cannot just keep doing this forever, right? We're not going to get this. We're not going to suppress the virus until there's a vaccine.
Well, that's what's so frustrating about New York, because we were doing so well, and
Right.
this is the moment. Indoor dining is opening. Kids are going back to school. This is when we really need to kind of button down and really,
Yeah.
keep it together. So that's why it's so disappointing that these numbers are going up.
And it's just I think that, again, back to the debate last night, I think Biden missed an opportunity to really hammer Trump on, all of these things could be avoided if we spent these last 6 months really coming up with a testing strategy, right? And that's what it all comes down to. If he authorized the Defense Production Act back in March to print, to get Abbott Labs and all these other companies to just put their heads together, figure out the rapid testing thing, and get these things out the door into the places that need them, we wouldn't be in this position right now. The virus would still be here, right? There would still be outbreaks, there would still be spikes, but we would be able to get it under control, and we would be able to have these sort of like surgical lockdowns in places. So it all comes back down to the fact that we never, we put all of this pressure on us being the public, right, to do the right thing. And for the most part, we all did. And our leaders didn't do anything. They wasted all that time. And I hate to be such a downer today, but I'm really feeling it.
I'm going to let you have the last word there, Carlo, because I think that was really well said. We do have a special podcast, by the way, coming up on Thursday. We're going to talk to
Yes.
JD Durkin, because Carlo and I wanted to spend a little bit more time on the debate than we normally do on these daily podcasts. So JD Durkin, who's Cheddar's White House correspondent, has a ton of just contacts and great reporting and great
Yep.
info. He's going to come on and talk all things politics with us. So if you do have questions, send them our way. Our email address. It's
Need2Know
I don't even know it.
Need2Know at Cheddar.com. Yeah, send us your questions. We'll talk to JD. That'll be a special pod on Thursday. We'll probably drop it Thursday afternoon. Also today, Jill, I believe today is what, National Podcast Day?
It is National Podcast Day. We're actually doing a really fun giveaway. You can win $400 actually. We're partnering with Entreprenistas, Momtourage, Good Pods, which is this great new app. Actually, I love it, where it's kind of like Goodreads, and they tell you what your friends are listening to. Anywho, if check out my Instagram page. I'm going to have all the info, also our newsletter. So my Insta is Jill R. Wagner, R for Robin, Jill R. Wagner, and I feel like you just rolled your eyes. I don't know.
No,
why,
I didn't.
Carlo.
I didn't know your middle name was Robin. That's new to me. I learn something new every day.
All right, everybody. So check out my Insta, check out our newsletter, and we'll give you all the details on how you could score some cash today. That's what you need to know for Wednesday, September 30th.
All right, folks. Have a good one.